All right, you're in your gym. The 9 a.m. class is about to start. You have one last swig of your coffee, you look at your watch, it's 8:55, and you walk around the corner and out onto the floor, and there's only one person there. What the hell, you think? Are people just late? 3 weeks ago, this was a full class. What causes falling attendance, and what can you do about it? That's what I'm going to tell you in this video. We know from researching data from thousands and thousands of gyms worldwide that there are two parts to retention and attendance. The first part is called adherence, and that's how often a given client shows up. So if a given client shows up Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and they do that all month, then their adherence rate is 3 classes per week or 12 classes in a month. Retention is the other side. Retention is how long that person stays. So over time, your retention might be 3 months, it might be 5 years. And we measure that in a metric that we call LEG, length of engagement. But when people start falling off, there are common denominators that we can point to that will usually tell us how to improve both adherence and retention. Before I get into them, adherence is a good kind of It's not a leading metric, but it is kind of a lagging metric. When somebody's adherence starts to drop, they stop showing up for the classes that they've purchased, you know that they're more likely to quit. And the faster their adherence drops, the more likely it is that their retention is going to end real soon. So keep an eye out. Make sure that you know when people aren't showing up. So first, what affects cancellations when it comes to adherence and retention? It's not a matter of how often somebody shows up. Somebody could show up twice a week for 10 years, and that's fine. That's enough for them. Maybe they're doing some walking, or they do swimming, or like me, they do cycling, and they only do your thing twice a week. That's okay. But the warning flag should come when somebody purchases an unlimited membership, or they pay for 3 times a week, but they only sign up once. Because now what you've done is you've created this value gap between what they're paying for and what they're actually receiving. And that's the biggest red flag of all. So the first reason that people stop showing up or cancel their membership is that they're not receiving the value that they paid for. And we can start by measuring how often they attend the classes that they've paid for. The next reason that people stop showing up is a different misperception in value. And that is that they're not getting the result that they're buying. So maybe they came into your gym and they said something like, I need to lose 20 pounds before the summer. And you said, that's awesome. I've got a great program for weight loss. It's helped 1 million people around the world. And we call that, your boot camp class or your yoga class or your CrossFit class or whatever, okay? And you sell them on that method. And they sign up, but you never check in with them and you never measure their progress. And so they're left to guess, right, in their own head, the ultimate subjective authority on whether they're making progress. And because most of us are really bad guessers at our own progress, they undervalue it. And so they say, gee, I don't know, I'm doing better at my mile run, and like I have a big deadlift now, and I did that workout called Michael 2 minutes faster, but like, I don't even know if I'm losing weight, and I didn't sign up to do all those other things. So, nobody's talking to me about this. Maybe I'm just going to go try something else. So attendance falls when people are left to guess about their progress. Now, this doesn't mean that they're not making progress. Of course they are. And maybe you see it because as an objective coach, you notice the progress that they're making. And maybe they are making progress even in weight loss, but they don't own a scale. The key, though, is that you're getting in front of them. You are there when they measure their progress. And if they're not making the progress that they want, you can change their direction. A lot of coaches are scared to put a client on the scale because they think, well, if they're not making progress, they're going to quit. But that's not it. It's the coach who doesn't put the client on the scale who loses the client. Because if you put the client on the scale, in body fat, the pinch, the measure, whatever, and they're not getting any better, they still trust you to change course. In fact, they've invested 3 months into your relationship already. And if you can pivot course, they'll actually be more likely to stick with you because they haven't made that investment in another coach and they don't want to start over. Okay. Second, what causes falling attendance? Or third, there's a momentum effect. So if I'm in a class and there are 8 people and we become friends and we're supportive and we talk to each other on social media and we meet up and 2 or 3 people stop showing up, I kind of miss them. And now the group is only 5. And what happens now? And like, well, maybe I'll skip Wednesday and I'll start calling them to make sure that they're going to be there before I show up myself. When that starts happening, when people start checking attendance with one another, you're on a downward slope to poorer adherence. And gradually, this is what causes these shifts out of the gym where you lose 5 or 6 people at once. Because instead of relying on each other to be there, now they're checking with each other to schedule. All right. The next reason, the fourth reason that attendance is slipping is that people are not getting one-on-one attention inside the class. So never mind that they've lost long-term vision on their goals or their progress. Now they're just showing up, they're going through the choreography, you're up there teaching, but you're not giving them one-on-one attention. As a rule of thumb, everybody in every class that you run should get at least 90 seconds of specific one-on-one instruction during that class time. Obviously, if you've got 30 people in a class, that's tough unless you've got multiple coaches. But if you've got a class size of 7 to 13 people, you can definitely deliver 90 seconds of individual skill instruction, not just here's what you're doing wrong, but here's how to improve in that class time. Okay? So if people aren't getting that, falling attendance tends to happen. The next reason is it's just that time of the year. So for me, we have a very short summer here in Northern Ontario. And a lot of people in the summer leave the city and they go to what they call camp. Now, most of their camps are beautiful cottages on the side of a lake, and I don't fault them a bit for wanting to be there. Our summers are so short that you can only get your boat in the water 4 months out of the year. And so they don't really want to be in the gym training. They want to be on the beach, you know, in the bush, camping, hiking, doing all the stuff that makes our area amazing. So what that means is that we need to adjust our class schedule to optimize for our attendance. So, you know, the summertime comes around, I should be releasing our summertime schedule, and I should be revising that every quarter. If I know from looking at historical attendance data that people are not going to come on Friday afternoon during the summer, then when I announce my summer schedule in June, I should not have a Friday evening class. I should optimize that schedule for times when I know that I can get a group of 7 to 13 people together. 7 to 13 has the best attention and retention and adherence rates out of all of the possible class sizes. The best retention and adherence is one-on-one training, followed closely by two-on-one training, but then retention dips until you get to about 7 people in a class, and it peaks at around 12 and then starts to decline again at around 13 people. So finally, the lack of novelty. Sometimes people just switch methods, so they stop doing CrossFit and start going to kettlebells, or you know, you've probably stopped doing Fran because you want to focus on weightlifting, and that's because the novelty effect is gone. You know, we bring these people in and we promise a different workout every day, constantly varied functional movement, etc., or you know, we promise it's always going to be fun, and eventually they lose that. So the best way to bring that novelty back is, number one, repeat workouts every so often. Think about CrossFit in 2008. You had these kind of like milestone workouts like Michael and Grace and Murph that you would do every so often so that people could measure their progress. Slowly, you have to replace novelty with progression. Another great way to do this is the level method. When somebody comes into your program, you measure their progress and you see where they're starting from. And then gradually over time, they become more and more addicted because your program is sticky. They like the novelty, they like the fun, they like the community, and they like the progress. And slowly over time, you have to transfer that attention away from novelty toward progress. Now, there's a caveat. At some point, people are going to hit a ceiling in nearly every metric, and they're going to get burned out. They don't want to have to take a step back from, you know, their aerobic capacity to improve their weightlifting, for example. And so at that point, you have to have something waiting for them, a summertime program that just lets them do something different, that creates novelty. Sometimes you might have to send them out of your gym, or sometimes you might even have to say, put your membership on hold. I'll give you one great example of this woman named Robin. She was an accountant at a business who was in real trouble, and it was a very stressful work environment. And her cortisol levels were through the roof. She was exhausted when she showed up to train. Her attendance was slowly drifting off. And I said, there's a warning flag here. And so what I said was, Robin, I want you to take 3 months off. I'm going to give you a walking plan to follow, and I'm going to give you the assignment of reading 5 books. Let's pick through our list of books. I suggested one, she chose the other 4. And that was the coaching. I would check in with her every 2 weeks, make sure that she was on track, ask how she was feeling. Eventually around August, I started giving her little meditation challenges to do while she was walking. And, in September, she had a planned return date, and she returned and got back into classes, and we went along. The value that I was giving to her as a coach was not in being there at 10 a.m. when her class happened. The value that I was giving her as a coach is telling her what to do to overcome this possibly derailing period in her life. So when attendance is falling, first you want to look at the person and say, what's going on in their life? Second, you want to coach that person to help get them over that period. But when attendance is falling in a group or one specific group class, you need to look at historical data and say, does this always happen? Or you need to talk to the people in that group and say, why aren't you coming as often? The key to improving retention and adherence and attendance is always communication.